Well, you got up here fast. Hey, everybody, it is Friday, December 28th. And yeah, this is my first check-in of the week. Turns out it's really hard to vlog during Christmas, at least for me. I got a bunch of footage, and I think I'm gonna do like a montage, which you've probably already witnessed. And hopefully that turns out kind of cool. I wasn't really great about remembering to film things, so maybe I'll get something out of that. But anyway, now it's Friday. I'm at home. I'm hanging out here with Toothless. He's very excited. I was gone for the first part of the week, and then I had niece and nephews over, and he is very much a cat that hides whenever there are people in the house that he's not used to. So he was hidden for the second part of the week, and so now he's just like, yes, we will be together forever. As far as reading goes, I have put down The Great Hunt this week because I wanted to read Hogfather by Terry Pratchett. This is part of his Discworld series, in which Hogfather, which is basically the Discworld version of Santa Claus, is dead slash missing, maybe, question mark, and Death decides to take the guise of him and play out the actions that the Hogfather is supposed to do. And it's quite charming and delightful, like all Terry Pratchett novels are. I'm about a third of the way through that. I'm hoping to get most of it, if not all of it, read tonight, just because I need to burn through this book as fast as possible, and try to get back to The Great Hunt, because I want to have all of that done by the end of the year, because I have a very special project in mind for January, which hopefully I'll be able to accomplish that. I also started and finished the audiobook for Sadie, which is by Courtney Summers, I think. This is a young adult thriller, and it is about a girl who, after something tragic in her family happens, she runs away. I'm not really sure like what is on the synopsis on the back, so I'm just gonna keep it as vague as possible as to not spoil. But she runs off with a very specific goal in mind, and then you get half of the story from her perspective, but then there's also half of the book is told in like a podcast form, where a journalist is following her trail, like he's trying to track her down, which is why everybody said listen to the audiobook, because it makes the podcast sections work so well. However, my problem with the audiobook was that I felt a lot of the voice actors, because it's a full cast voice acting extravaganza, I just don't think it was cast very well. Like, they would describe the voice and then the voice actor would come out and it sounded nothing like was described in the book. But I do understand with the podcast format why people tend to say the audiobook is a good way to go. However, even though I thought the podcast was an interesting take, I really felt like the fact that we got so much from Sadie's perspective, and oftentimes the podcast was a direct follow-up to whatever just happened to Sadie. So you would have something happen from Sadie's perspective, and then you would have a follow-up, which was like an interview with somebody that she interacted with during that time period or whatever. And it was just basically rehashing the same information over and over again. It just wasn't that interesting to me. I felt like had the podcast stood on its own and you didn't have the Sadie bits, the podcast would have been a lot more effective. So I kind of like the idea behind telling a story through podcast and having like a serialized podcast that's following this one specific incident, and it's all about this guy investigating the whereabouts of this. But when you know the whereabouts, because you're so in because you're so in Sadie's headspace throughout. So it's weird. I'm not a huge fan of it, but a lot of people really like it. If it had been executed a little bit better, it would have been a really great book, but I'm not crazy about the execution. I would have either liked just like the podcast format and really focused in on that, or give the podcast a chance to give me more information. Like, I felt like if the podcast actually added to the story, I would have been like, yeah, that's awesome. But it never really felt like it fully added to the story, because it was always just following up on something that we just experienced, because we were just told that from Sadie's perspective. So it's a weird kind of dual perspective thing that doesn't really work out, because I feel like so much of what you get from the podcast you already got from Sadie, and it's just repeating information. So not the biggest fan of that one. Anyway, other than that, I did Christmas and family visiting and didn't really get a huge amount of reading done during that time. So Toothless is already prepared to snuggle on my lap for a while. He is in position. So I guess I'm going to start reading now. Hey everybody, it is December 29th, and I have had just like the most productive of Saturdays. Not only did I do awesome on my reading, not only did I get my vlog for this week mostly edited already, but I also just got a crap ton done around the house. Like stuff that I've been meaning to do since October. Like I got a bunch of cupboards and stuff cleared out and things that I've been meaning to get rid of forever. And I feel 10 pounds lighter. On the flip side though, my roommate gave me a whole bunch of snacks for Christmas, and so I've been snacking on those while I've been editing. So that's kind of counterbalanced it, and now I'm also 10 pounds heavier. But now that I know for sure that I have enough footage for a vlog this week, I'm going to do a final check-in. I was able to finish Hogfather, and it is absolutely a delight. I kind of want to read this every Christmas from here on out. So for those of you who just aren't really familiar with Terry Pratchett and the Discworld, they're books that don't have to really be read in any order. It's all in the same universe, and a lot of overlapping characters are throughout the books, but all of the books are meant to be um, readable as a standalone, and so it's kind of one that you can bounce around with. I do plan on reading them in publication order and have kind of started that project, but I skipped ahead because obviously it was Christmas time and I wanted to read this at Christmas time. So I finished this one this morning, and it's great. And yeah, just anytime that I can push for people to read Terry Pratchett, I'm going to. I buy his books all the time simply to give them away because I love him so much. And no matter how many of his books I buy, I always have kind of a small collection because it's the first book I'll grab and give to somebody is a Terry Pratchett book. So good. I also got the chance to get back into The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan today. Like I said, I put this down during Christmas time because I really didn't have time to read anyway, and I wanted to focus on Hogfather with what time I did have. And yeah, I've been flipping back and forth between the physical and the audiobook on this one, and that's really helped me keep my momentum and getting through it because I just haven't had a lot of time to be able to sit down and physically read it, even though that's my preferred method of reading these books. I'm just gonna say it right now, I don't care about Rand. I know he's kind of like the main dude, but he is like the least interesting character to me. But no, I am all about what's happening on the Aes Sedai's story. And yeah, Lan right now, he is my favorite character. I love him so much, and I am just, I can't deal. But I am just over halfway through this one. My goal is to have this finished by Monday night, by New Year's Eve night. And have it to where I can start on that very fun special project in January, which I'm going to spoil right now because it's kind of not really that amazing of a project. But I'm going to attempt in January to do a 30 in 30. So that's 30 books read in 30 days. And I'm not going to be super strict about any kind of rules on length or whatever. Like if I pick up a comic book or something, I'll count it. I don't really care about that. I just kind of want to do it as a fun project to get through a bunch of books all at once. And I have a lot of shorter reads that I just haven't been able to get to yet, and I think it will work well for this type of reading challenge. We'll see how good of a start I have on New Year's Day. New Year's Day will be the telling day. If I go through New Year's Day and I'm off all day and I don't read anything, then I'm probably not going to achieve 30 in 30. But yeah, that's I think that's going to be a vlog. I think I'm going to stick a fork in this one. Yep.